Okay, just wrapped up practice, like where we're at. Finish tomorrow and then head down and play a really good football team. So any questions, I'll gladly answer them.
What do you do with that interior D-tackle spot with Deshaun in?
I think we'll be in good shape there. We got a lot of options that we can play right there, and I feel comfortable with what we got.
Chris, you guys have brought in Gabe Jackson the other week. Justin had been here, went away, came back. When you're dealing with older players like that, what do they have to do to keep themselves ready during the time when they're away?
Obviously, the in-shape factor, just being in shape. Then when they come back, a guy might be in shape. Then you have to determine what's his football shape. And obviously, practice will give you those answers there. And then how fast can they pick things up? Obviously an older veteran, they've probably played in a lot of different offenses, so they're able to probably recall, things from another offense that they can translate into what our offense is. So I think we're in good shape there with guys coming and going and guys being ready to play.
With those two guys in particular, are you confident in them that if they need to go Sunday, you're good with that? Obviously, Justin started last week.
Yeah, 100%. We'd be perfectly fine with those guys playing in there and helping us and giving us a chance to win.
Are you able to say whether Justin and Nash are starting again in there?
Yeah, it's going to be the same setup that we had, so play it.
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, and 12-man personnel on offense has been something that y'all have experimented with, tried with. With the tight end room being a little beat up, how does that affect your offense?
I would say I think we're in good shape there. Actually, I understand your question with regards to being beat up, the tight end, the room itself. But actually, this week I think we're in a better spot than what we were a week ago. Obviously, last week we only had Soley and Ian up. Tommy's had a nice week of practice, so I feel good about that position group.
Chris, on tight ends, Hayden and his dad put some information out this week. I understand you weren't the head coach at the time, but do you know why Hayden was allowed to go back in that game in Chicago?
No, I do not. I know he's in the concussion protocol and going through the steps right now and is on his way back.
Are you kind of in communication with the training staff about his situation?
Oh, 100%. I talked to the training staff about all injuries, and his injury is no different.
Do you feel like he's heading in a good direction, or are you kind of still?
No, I think he's headed in a good direction. I think you're always going to be extremely cautious in those areas with that injury, and I think that's what we're doing, going through the protocol steps, and when he comes back, we'll obviously be excited about it.
Could he play next week? Could he play?
I couldn't tell you that. I would never those injuries like that. I would never guess when guys are coming back.
Chris, Adam Thielen's number's been down the last couple of weeks. How much of that is a function of what people are trying to do to take him away from Bryce as kind of that safe outlet?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with it. He's obviously a really good football player. He's having a heck of a year. People know where he's at, and I think what you see now is other guys need to continue to step up. Mingo making some plays. Shark made a nice play last week. So those guys should be excited for their opportunity if the ball comes their way because of what's going on with Adam.
Specifically on Jonathan Mingo, how do you get him in the end zone? Obviously the priority is to score points, you know what I'm saying, but
yeah.
How, is it more of a priority to get him the ball in the red zone and get him a score, get him?
I think it's probably a priority for anybody to get in the end zone, not to kind of specifically talk about one guy, because sometimes when you're looking at one guy, it frees somebody else up, and whoever has the opportunity to make a play down there need to make a play.
I asked you about this earlier in the week, but any additional thoughts on who you're going to face behind center for them?
No. I think, I haven't seen their injury report yet today, but, when you prepare for both guys, at the same time, really, you're preparing for their offense because of all the weapons that they have, regardless of who the trigger guy is. got a lot of respect. Excuse me, got a lot of respect for both of them, but we'll have to wait and see.
You guys have had silent count stuff most of the year, including at one of the home games. What do you feel like you're pretty well prepared for that aspect?
No, I think we are. That's a it's a stadium that a lot of people are jumping off sides there. Our guys are doing a nice job. We haven't had any delay games. I think we're getting in a rhythm. That's going to be critical down there because we've got to stay ahead of the chains to give ourselves a chance.
What was your take last night on the punt where the snapper lifted his head and
I think the league is, all officials are very aware of that. You know, he was a little abrupt. I'm not going to lie. I watched it today on tape. I was already asleep, to be honest with you. But
it was late in the game?
yes, and I need to get some sleep. But I will say, officials, if it's 4th and 5 or less, they're zeroing in a little bit more with the team with the ball as opposed to the defense. So when he lifted his head up there, a little abrupt. I've seen worse, but that's kind of how things are being officiated right now. Officials understand what's going on. I will say this about officials: they're with regards to game management and those things, they're very sharp about what's going on within the game and understanding the tricks of the trade. They do a nice job in that area.
You mentioned it previously, but what it makes it so difficult? What is it about the Superdome that makes it so difficult to play there? Or is it difficult to play there in your experience?
It is, and in all my years in the league, I've only been there 2 times, so it's still kind of a brand new stadium to me. But it does get very loud, and it's obviously a great home environment for them. And really, we just have to circle the wagons and stick together. And if something negative happens, we just have to kind of regroup and keep moving forward. So that's kind of the plan.
Where would you rank that place in terms of loudness?
It's loud. I mean, it is. I mean, there's so many loud stadiums that you can talk about. You know, I think it also depends what kind of game is it. You know, and what your team like, and those things. I think those are all collective factors. But I think it's definitely a place that we got to be zeroed in. It's going to be a tough place to hear. Our communication has to be on point, not only in the huddle but on the sideline. You know, game adjustments out on the field will be critical.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.